Hi, Gemini. Welcome to Pandora Astrology's monthly horoscope for April of 2020. Wow, it's always a wonderful thing for the Geminis of the world when Mercury is direct and fast. And Julia has thoughts about that, as well as about the relationship planets Venus and Mars. Take it away, Julia.
All right, Jamie. Well, hey, Gemini. I'm going to start with Venus first because she's the planet of relationships and beauty, and she's going to be entering your sign of Gemini, which correlates with your first house of self on April 3rd. So, the first house, like I said, it's the house of self, so that means you're going to be embodying Venus vibes all month. So, this is a really excellent transit for dating because you're going to be a little extra cute and charming than usual. It's also a really good transit for beautifying your appearance in some way, like getting a new haircut or getting your makeup done, all those Venus-related things. Now, Mars is the next planet I want to talk about, and Mars entered the sign of Aquarius during the very last days of March. So it's going to be staying in the sign of Aquarius all of this month of April, which correlates with your ninth house. And the ninth house is the house of experience and adventure because it's ruled by Jupiter. So you could feel like a bundle of energy where you might just want to impulsively try new things or travel new places. And if you don't have any opportunity to kind of move around, you might end up feeling really extra stir crazy, especially if you got a job or some responsibilities kind of tying you down. So if that's the case and you've got all this sort of like pent up Mars energy, then try to travel with your higher mind by learning something new or something consciousness expanding, because that's another thing the ninth house can represent. Now I want to talk about Mercury, which is your ruling planet. And Mercury is going to be moving super fast this month, and it's going to be going through three different signs which correlate with three different of your houses. So wherever we have Mercury is where we do our best thinking. So at the very beginning of the month, it's going to be in your 10th house of career. So your mind may be really, really focused on how you can strategize and move forward in your career. And if your career involves anything Mercury related, like writing, speaking, teaching, selling, travel too, then this could be an extra fruitful period in career for you as well. Then on April 10th, Mercury enters the sign of Aries, which correlates with your 11th house. And the 11th house is the house of groups. That includes your friendship circles. That includes any business associations or teams you might be on or recovery groups you're a part of. So that means you could be doing your best thinking and communicating within a group context. So try to run some of your ideas and strategies by your friends or any other groups you're a part of to really make the most out of them. Then on April 27th, Mercury enters Taurus, which correlates with your 12th house. And the 12th house is the house of seclusion. It also represents your subconscious. And I think I said it, but that'll happen on April 27th. So this is going to be a really big shift from the 11th house. Before, between the 10th and the 27th, you may be doing your best thinking with a group or with lots of people around you. And when it moves into the 12th, after April 27th, then you might be a lot more inclined to kind of keep your thoughts to yourself. And you might do your best thinking more on your own instead of with the influence of other people around you. And since the 12th house is also the house of the subconscious, you could be getting information from subconscious sources, like through meditation, or through a dream state, or any spiritual practice that you're a part of. What else is going on this month, Jamie?
We've got some moons. There's a full moon on April 7th right here in Libra, and it involves Juno Retrograde. And you might want to go to our 2020 news playlist where you can check out the video about Juno Retrograde that's going on this spring. It's a relationship retrospective period, and this particular moon really plugs into that with its themes of partnership versus identity, sort of the balancing of your will versus the will of your partner and trying to find what's fair. Juno and the moon fall in your 5th house, which I like to call the house of creation, recreation, and procreation, because it's a house of creativity, it's a house of children. It's also a house of childlike behavior, of having fun, playing, and expressing oneself freely like a child. And it's the house of love affairs, relationships entered into simply for the fun and the pleasure of it. And that moon in Juno might be there to remind you that maybe in your relationship you're due for a little fun. The sun is up here in the 11th house, which is, as Julia said, the house of your social group, your friends, your acquaintances, your circle in the broader sense. And so there may be some, pulling back and forth between those themes of like, relationship versus the group. Do I hang with my friends? Do I hang with my partner? Um, so that may come up under the full moon on the 7th, and you'll probably notice the full moon's themes for about 3 days surrounding that date. The new moon comes later in the month. It's happening on the 22nd, and it's happening in the sign of Taurus. And here it is. And this particular new moon in Taurus falls in your 12th house, which is a house of solitude and pulling inward. It's a very introverted, dreamy, even spiritual place of retreat. And when the new moon happens there, I think that quite often we feel the need to pull inward really deeply and retreat from the world in order to recharge. Now, this particular moon brings the planet Uranus in, and also the planet Saturn, and they're forming a square. Now, if you have Gemini rising, while Uranus is in Taurus, at some point it's going to move into your 12th house. Uranus spends about 7 years in a sign, and when it moves into your 12th house, you'll probably enter a couple of year period in which it's very difficult to get quality sleep, and you may feel a little bit insomniac. Now, finding out exactly when that happens is really something that you can only discover in an actual reading, where you see the detailed numbered degrees that are on various house cusps. But suffice it to say that practicing really good sleep hygiene under this particular moon would be a good idea, and a really good new seed that you could plant under this new moon, because new moons are really about beginnings. The square to Saturn may be part of the dilemma, because Saturn wants you to keep keep your habits the way they are, and Uranus wants you to break them up. So definitely a bit of a dilemma there. Goodness, Gemini, I think that's all we have for you. You can always find more great stuff like this in our on our horoscopes page at Pandora Astrology, or in our YouTube channel. And there are always new news videos coming up. If you were interested in a reading, I think that probably a reading where you can talk about your social life would be really appropriate right now, like a lifelong love reading about your relationships, or a natal and transit reading. Or you could book your relationship, your birthday solar return reading early this year, to think about, how things are going in your friendships with that 11th house activity that Julia was talking about with Mercury. And keep your eyes open for our horoscope to come out next month, just for you, Gemini, like we always do. And we'll see you around the cosmos. Bye.
Bye bye.